Great. Okay, so share your slides.
Okay, now the most challenging part.
And start. There you go. Okay, so give it a second. All right, we look ready. Okay, here's your 10 minutes. Take it away.
Okay. Hello everyone, and I'm Elena Peresada, and as I like calling myself, I'm a game educator, and also I've got like two other nicknames: gamification queen or gamification lady. And I think that I know about gamification a little bit more than any other English teacher. Okay, and today we are going to talk about the difference between games and gamification, and about what is true gamification actually. Very often I ask my colleagues, so do you gamify your lessons? And most of them, they say yes. And when I ask them, and can you tell me what exactly you do to gamify your lesson? The most frequent answer is, I use games in my lessons. And this is not gamification. And so now I've got a feeling that gamification in ALT, it's like sex in middle school. Everybody talks about it, but just a few people know what it is really is. And right now, let's try just to see what is gamification and how different it is from using games in your classroom. So when you want to work, let's say, on spelling of some words, you can use a game. For example, you want your students just to learn how to spell these 6 words. So you can play different games with them. For example, hangman. And this is not gamification. So a game has the beginning and the end. And when you play the game, you change the original, the initial action. So you don't spell the words, you don't write these words in your notebooks, but you play a game. You just cry out the letter you want to be opened. So you start thinking about some strategies. Okay, which letter to open first, which letter to open second. So this is just a game, which is also very good for working on some particular skills. So if we talk about gamification, in gamification, we do not change the original action. I still want my students to keep on writing these words in their notebooks. But for example, when they finish 5 lines with the same word, I would give them some kind of prize, a reward. Maybe I award them with a point or with a star. So this is a very simple, a very primitive example of gamification. And I know that some people who, some teachers, they do this kind of encouragement. The problem, what is the problem with this approach? You are awarded points, and of course, if you are the leader in the leaderboard and you've got 691 points, you're very happy and you are quite motivated to keep on working. But if you are at the bottom, and in this particular rating, which you can see on my screen, I had 0 points. And when I look at the first person in my rating, in my leaderboard, I can understand that I will never reach this result. And so this kind of gamification, it is called pointification. It is not real gamification. It is very badly used kind of gamification, which does more harm than good. Okay, so when you give out points, so you just exploit extrinsic motivation, but good gamification, it's about awakening intrinsic motivation. And it's a little bit about what Julia was talking about in the previous talk. So when you award your students with some points in gamification, so your students, they need to understand why they need these points. Just to be the first in the leaderboard, that is not a very good goal. So the good goal is just to save somebody, to do something epic, to do something heroic. Everybody is a hero inside. I will give you just a very short example of gamification with one of my groups. So there is a help signal from one of the planets, and we need to get to this planet to save citizens, inhabitants of that planet. But to go from one solar system to another, we need special rocket fuel. And for each unit, I give the formula of this fuel. So in this unit, to go from this star to this star, you need to collect 30 points of vocabulary, 12 points of reading, 20 points of speaking, 35 points of writing. These are like fuel elements, special chemical elements we need to collect to be able to fly from one solar system to another. So this is intrinsic motivation. Students collect these points because they want to do something great, they want to do something epic, and they are really interested in the story itself. So intrinsic motivation, it's more about changing students' behavior. So real gamification, it's more about changing students' behavior. So you want your students to do some particular things, and you try to influence on your students with the help of a game. And a good story also always works very well. Well, actually, in my company, Trend English Games, we have already created quite a few ready-made games just for gamified lessons. And if you are interested in them, you can go to my Facebook group, RPG in ALT, and I'm going to share some examples of these games for free with you, just to have a taste of what a real gamification is. Okay, now if you know, if you can see the difference between games and gamification, and you still think that, okay, I don't want just to play games with my students, I want to gamify my lessons, ask yourself this question: why do I need gamification? Gamification is it's a time-consuming process, and you have to think very carefully before you start gamifying your lessons. And to say, okay, I just want to gamify my to motivate my students, this is not the correct answer. So this is a very general problem. Have a list of these problems on my screen. If you say my students are not motivated, then just you have just to think about something else. What exactly you want your students to do? Gamification, it is always about some final results. So what kind of behavior you want to get from your students? My students don't do their writing tasks. Do you need gamification for this? Are you sure that your teaching procedures are quite right? Sometimes when I talk to my colleagues and they start complaining that their students don't want to do writing tasks, and when I ask them about how they work with writing in their lesson, it is like this: okay, I give them a topic and I ask them just to bring the composition for the next lesson. So no work in the classroom at all. Maybe you need just to think about your teaching techniques first, and only then go and address gamification. Okay, my students don't turn on their videos in Zoom lessons. Okay, do you need gamification? Or maybe you just need to study a little bit to study some things about classroom management and about classroom management online. Maybe you need to do some team building activities first, and then this problem will be solved. So you don't need gamification for this problem. My students don't do their homework. My students speak Russian in their lessons. So these are good points. So we can start working with them. So not everything should be solved with the help of gamification. So if you want to gamify your lesson, you have to follow this procedure. First, you make a list of problems you want to solve, and these problems, they must be measurable. They shouldn't be general. Then you make sure that all of them are solved with the help of gamification. So that means that you've tried all other things, all other techniques, and nothing worked. And so the gamification is just your last resort. Then you prioritize your problems. You can't start working on everything. You just choose maybe the first two problems you want to start working with, and you start thinking about game mechanics, which, for example, okay, you want your students to use English only in your lessons. Okay, and you think, so how are you going to reward your students for speaking English? So you don't punish your students, you think about some kind of reward, yeah? So how can you reward your students if they speak English only? Or you want your students to do more homework, to do their homework more often. Okay, what can you do just to reward them for coming with their homework done? Okay, and when you solve the first problems, then you can proceed to problem number 3, to problem number 4. So gamification has got its beginning, but it hasn't got any ending. So it is an everlasting process. You plan something, what you want to gamify with your, what you want to change in your classroom, then you do it, review, you change, and you get back, and you start everything again and again. Okay, that's it. That's everything I wanted to tell you about gamification within these 10 minutes.
That was great. And what I love about you is you can fit a 20-minute presentation into 10 minutes better than anybody else I know.
Yeah, I've just been working with this topic, you know, for 7 or 8 years. I can talk about gamification for days, or I can talk just for 10 minutes. It's just
I know. I've seen many of your talks, and they're great. And I'm looking forward to your talk the end of October.
yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. See you on October the 25th.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.